State College, and I work for CNS, also grocers in town. One thing that I don't think anyone's touched on is the current location of the Keene Skate Park and the crowd that it draws around it, and the effect that that has on skateboarders who try to go there to actually express themselves. It's a magnet for people who do not use the park and who just give a terrible opinion on the people who actually skateboard. So moving the park, not only for safety reasons and for improvements, I think you should really focus on what it would do for that.
If I may, to Your Honor, ask a quick question. Thanks for bringing that issue up, because I know part of the discussion as we move forward is going to involve location. Do you think it's the downtown location in general, or is it that specific location? Because the reason I'm saying that, I've heard input about downtown, it's good, it's centralized, closer to businesses and other things. But where it is now, even though it's in the middle of downtown, it's sort of in an isolated area. You have a very transient back and forth population that hovers around it, but you also have people parking, leaving their cars, walking away. On the other side, you have basically a bare patch, an overflow parking lot. So I'm wondering, when you brought up its location now, do you mean downtown in general, or that specific point or place where it is now downtown?
So I mean that specific point, and the fact that it's around someplace where you can park your car and congregate and kind of be secretive with whatever it is those people are doing. I think if you moved it to a place like as proposed as Wheelock Park, where it's away from a parking location and the people who actually congregate to it are there for skateboarding, I think that would be very beneficial. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman in the back. Good couple.
Matthew Phillips, 168 Washington Street. To add on a little bit what he's saying, not only Wheelock Park, but an area where there's families congregating and doing things, sort of these activities, we feel would deter any of that extracurricular activity that has nothing to do with skateboarding or biking anyways. Other than that, moving on, I just want to extenuate the necessity for a skate park. We have a small group of people here, but I can tell you from personal experience, there's a lot more skateboarders here. It's probably past most of their bedtime. But so let me be a representation of them. A few years back, I opened a private park, or was open to the public, but it was privately owned. And I was young, financially, we couldn't make it quite so. But I had in the time that I was open, I had congregated 750 waivers. So that's 750 skateboarders in the area. Or bikers, so just a number to keep in mind. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Gentleman in the back.
Brian quickly again, 9 German Road, and this time I won't be as emotional. I just want to provide a little bit of information with some of the questions people have asked about the size of a park and the cost of a park and the ideal space for a park. I was a part of an ad hoc committee 4 years ago. We submitted our recommendations to the city that considered all of those particular elements. And so there are recommendations that are made using a particular mathematical algorithm for the ideal size of a skate park, influenced by the size of the community and the number of youth in that community. And that space that is in that CIP is not sufficient to be able to provide the amount of square footage for the number of skaters that exist within the community of Keene. And in terms of the location, the recommendations that come from the literature, and believe it or not, there are people that study this stuff. The key factor for a successful skate park, beyond that it's built soundly, that it uses state-of-art equipment, that it's concrete and durable, the most important factor is that it's in a multi-use space. And so Councilor Duffy had asked a little bit about that particular spot that it exists currently. That is not multi-use, it's nothing close to multi-use. And you can understand the reasons why it needs to be multi-use, is it polices itself when there are families and communities doing other things in the context of a park, like flying kites and playing baseball. You know, I mentioned myself, I have 2 young kids. I won't go to that skate park, not because I'm afraid of it or I'm afraid of the people there, and maybe I'm a little stupider in my older age than some of these younger skaters, but I'll also not go there because I'm worried about getting injured. I don't go there just because it's just not a place I want to bring my children and skateboard in. And so, to me, you know, being a psychologist by profession and being a skater by my personal interest, the value to an individual's physical and emotional well-being can't be put into words. And there's research to support the value skateboarding has with physical health and with emotional health. And so to me, it's just so critical that this community recognizes the value of an activity like that. And it's important to my children to be able to go to a place that they can engage in that recreation with their father, interact with other skaters, learn from those skaters, and have a sense of community and connection to something that I think is just extraordinarily important and appealing. And it's not that I don't want my children to play baseball and football, but I want them to engage in recreation that also inspires creativity, individuality, perseverance, commitment, dedication, and skateboarding uniquely provides all those things. So I wanted to add that in there, but I also wanted to mention that there was a report submitted by that ad hoc committee that made all of these explicit recommendations on the size of the park and the location of the park.
Thank you. Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Your Honor. So you're saying that you think that the park should be located in another park where there's lots of other things going on? Because I remember the recommendation, one of the recommendations of that report 4 years ago was the Carpenter Field, which is sort of, I guess there are some other things going on, but it sort of is isolated. So you're saying it really shouldn't be in an isolated position?
Yeah, I think at the time the recommendation for Carpenter was made, it was sort of contingent on Carpenter being developed with some additional recreational opportunities, and I won't pretend I know those plans any better than Andy Bohannon would know those plans, but at the time that recommendation was made, it was in the context that that park would be further developed and provide other alternative recreational things for people. So you know, for our group, we've been really cautious to not want to identify a particular location, because we know once you do that, you have to suddenly respond to phone calls from community members. An example is I took a call in my office on campus from a community member in Wheelock, because they had heard that I personally was recommending that a skate park needed to go into Wheelock. To me, it's not about where it goes. It's about that location being multi-use. I leave it up to the city to figure out where that is. But if we truly want a park that people are going to use, feel comfortable going to, and that does police itself, because people like myself and some of these older guys that are here are there with their children, they're going to be telling kids who are there doing other things instead of skate to take a hike and get out of there. It has to be in a place where we feel comfortable bringing our families, and so a multi-use park or a multi-use space is going to be ideal. I feel compelled at times to talk a little bit about that sort of rebellious component, and just to highlight that skateboarding does get a bad rap, and there are kids who are troublemakers who are engaged in skateboarding, but that's no different than any other sport. There are troublemakers, believe it or not, who play football. There are troublemakers who are on baseball. And so I think the history of skateboarding makes it a little more. I think the history of skateboarding as a more rebellious sport does give it a heuristical quality, where people see a troublemaker, they immediately attribute that to being skateboarding. But if people see a troublemaking football player, they don't attribute that to being a football player in any way, shape, or form. So I just wanted to really point that out, that there are troublemakers, but there are in every other sport.
Councilor Jones?
Thank you very much for those comments, Brian. I'm kind of want to ask you, is there something that should be considered when placing, as the popularity grows, should there be room to extend? I mean, I look at, if you ever go to Venice, California, they started with one, and it actually became a tourist attraction, and ended up with like a string of 12 parks out there. And I can see that happening, and so I guess I'm asking, do you need that additional room
I think the knowledge I have from the work that I've done and really working with Andy Bohannon too in an educated, informed way, really recommends that municipalities begin to consider the kind of parks that will fulfill the needs of that community. And so a good example would be, we know Brattleboro's trying to do a skate park. Good luck with that, obviously, which is part of probably the struggle we'll face in Keene. But if we build a park in Keene, we need to look at what Brattleboro's building, because the features that go into a park, you could build different features in a proximal park nearby, so that skaters have an interest in going to different parks because they offer different features. And so the idea of expanding a park, I think, is something to be considered, but my understanding of the current models of skate park development is to build parks that have specialized and unique features, and that you could build other parks within that community that have totally different features. And so if there was a need to expand the development of a park, in my mind, what would make the most sense is to ensure you have a core park that's built that provides most things that skaters may want in varying degrees of ability, and that then you may decide later on to build satellite mini parks within that particular community. So you don't have to expand in a single location, in other words.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any further questions?
Thank you. I think I did it I think that was over 3 minutes this time, so I appreciate the extra time.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address any of the issues in the capital improvement program?
Garrett Ian, 75 Leverett. The northbound 2 lanes on Main Street, you can't even see the dividing line there. It's supposed to be white and dotted, but it's invisible right now, so somebody's got to paint that. I know early on somebody mentioned something about, redoing the streets or something, so get on it. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Garrett? Okay, thank you. Any further questions or any further comments relating to the CIP? See? Yes.
How's it going? I'm Tom Atwood, 121 Middle Road here in town. I've only been living here for a few years. I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of great people here at the park. I know you kind of have a tendency of writing them off because long hair, maybe baggy pants, skinny jeans, but all in all, there's a good core of people here. And they're really here to show their support and fight for a new skate park. And I think that shows a lot because you don't normally see people like this in front of a group of people like you, So, I mean, not to discredit anybody, but I mean, I think that really says a lot. And the biggest thing about skateboarding is that we fall down and we get back up. And it seems like there's been plenty of attempts in the past to get this going, and it seems like it's fallen down. I think it's our time to get back up and make this happen. So, thank you for everybody for coming out. I was talked into coming out tonight. Obviously these things are a little out of place for me, but I wanted to come speak my opinion, and I think the city needs it. And I think it'll help bring more people to the city too. That's just like, if we go back to Venice Beach, how he was talking about that. I have actually had the privilege of going to Venice Beach quite a few times, and Venice is it's a unique situation because it was a beach that was open to the public. It had an area that could really fit into the niche of skateboarding, but it was very covered, and it brought in a lot of junkies and people just hanging around, and obviously it caused a lot of crime for the area. So Venice looked at it as, we still have this great culture of skateboarders, so we should do something about it. So they actually built this park, and yes, I know you say that there's concerns because it keeps expanding and getting bigger and bigger. But the thing is, though, they embraced skateboarding. They brought it in, and they made this park. And now here I am. I've lived in Massachusetts before. Now, for work-related purposes, I live here in New Hampshire. But I get to go to California and I get to go skate this park. And it's pretty impressive, just to think that there was this one little area where people would camp out and just skateboard and hang out all day. But now it's an attraction for the world. I go skateboarding day, the first day of summer. I went out there last year. And you just see tons of people, all ages, like kids that are just walking to grandfathers just rolling around on their skateboards and just being a part of the culture. And I just want to make sure that everybody acknowledges that and helps make a change, I guess.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Sasha Sims, 12 Spring Street. Alright, well, there's not too much I can say that they haven't already said, but I'll try. I've been riding this park since it opened in 1997, and, you know, as the danger part of it, that is a huge factor. I've been injured by it many a time, not because it was my fault for falling, but because the park's in rough shape. There's welds sticking up, there's screws loose, there's rusty, jagged edges to almost everything you skate, and it's really scary. And, you know, I think that's something that kind of messes with everybody who rides there. Also, you know, the kids who show up there to not skate and just kind of hang out and drink and do drugs, it gives us a really bad rap, as a few of us said. And, you know, having it in a different location, like the guy in the nice suit back there said, you know, someplace where it would be more, you know, friendly for families and kids and stuff like that. That would be good because, you know, like I said, it would keep the others who don't want to skate but just kind of hang out and get drunk. It would keep them away. I mean, I've been skating since I was like 6 years old. And, you know, like everybody said, it was a thing that I could kind of get into and belong to, kind of like a culture that I could really just feel like I was at home with, because, you know, some of us aren't so good at, you know, the whole organized sports thing. And not that we lack the skill or ambition, it just doesn't, you know, we're more artistic and creative in different areas, and for us to be able to, you know, if whether it be like painting a picture or riding around on a piece of wood, you know, it's something that we all obviously care about. We've all come out, and I mean, we've all gotten up here to talk, and, you know, a young and older crowd has showed up to share their love for this culture and this sport. And, you know, I wasn't even planning on talking because everybody had said everything already, but I did it just to show you guys